Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studio in Cumming, Georgia, it's time for Forsyth Business Radio.
And hello, friends, and welcome to a very special episode of Forsyth Business Radio. I am your host, Amanda Pierce-Marmolejo, and I'm joined by the leadership team of the Preface Project. And if you're a follower of us and Business RadioX, you know that we are enthusiastic supporters of this nonprofit organization, and they are celebrating their 4th annual Literacy Benefit Gala on September 23rd at the Capital City Club. It is my great pleasure to introduce the founder and executive director, JT Wu.
Hey, Amanda. Thank you all so much for having us.
And also the director of educational standards, Ms. Heather Phillips.
Hello.
Welcome back, you guys. I'm so excited for you and your continued success.
Thank you. It's great to be back.
We were talking before the show, and it's hard to believe that this is actually year 4.
Absolutely.
It's a testament to how quickly time flies, but also all of the great work that you've been able to accomplish and achieve within that 4-year period of time. So for those who just might be joining us and they're unfamiliar with your mission, go ahead and share with our listeners what you guys do.
Definitely, and Heather, you've heard this spiel 1,000 times, so feel free to jump in. But so thanks again for having us. At Preface, really our goal is to equip our next generation with the foundational literacy skills that they need to succeed, whether that's in English or in other languages. And so maybe just taking a step back. My background, I'm the son of immigrants. So my mom is Filipino Chinese, my dad's Malaysian Chinese. They came to this country for education in college, and they met at Ole Miss. So they've been in the South for a really long time, and we moved to Georgia and we put our roots down here. And I was fortunate and blessed to be able to grow up in an English-speaking household. So mom and dad were able to help me with my homework, make sure that I was, understanding what was going on in class, talking to my teachers, making sure that I was where I needed to be. So thanks to them, had tremendous educational supports growing up. Kind of fast forward 20 years, I went on to college, was in New York for a couple of years, and I came back home and really found Gwinnett, but Georgia as a whole, in a very different place. Right now in Gwinnett County, where we're headquartered, about 57% of our kids still struggle to read English proficiently by the 3rd grade. Statewide, that number is a little bit higher, kind of looking at 2/3 of our kids, and that's really a national average as well across the United States. And that's persisted across administrations, it's persisted across decades, really. And so that obviously tugged at some heartstrings, and we were like, well, what can we do to support our hardworking teachers in this? Because, goodness knows it's not because the teachers don't love their kids, it's not because the teachers don't know what they're doing. A lot of it is just simply these kids are growing up in households where maybe English isn't spoken in the home. And so maybe you've got mom and dad working multiple jobs to make ends meet. Then you've got a little kiddo trying to learn both English and a curriculum in the classroom from a teacher who might not speak that child's native language, and doing all of that at the same time. And that can be incredibly challenging for a little one. And so basically what we did at Preface was created a model that is completely no cost to schools, designed by expert educators, where we train and recruit high school students from within communities, not just here in Georgia, but across America, to read to young students and basically do that in small group or one-on-one reading sessions so that they can get these kids where they need to be and bridge those comprehension gaps so that they can be, the successful little ones that we all know that they can be. And really what we've seen is that kids in our programs are gaining in literacy at twice the rate as other kids in their class. They're doing it, with consistency, with a joy and a love of reading. And it's something that has enabled our teachers to reduce their class sizes as well. They're able to work with smaller groups because the maybe kiddos that need it the most are having this one-on-one time with a trained peer high school ambassador, as we call them, and getting the opportunity to again, bridge those comprehension gaps and just get on the track to success.
I love the bridging gaps. And I'd love to hear Heather's take on that, as she is one of those expert educators. And I do just have to love on Heather here for a second, because
Yes.
I just learned that she was awarded the Teacher of the Year.
That's right.
And that's at Kingsley Elementary School. So congratulations to you.
Thank you. It is an honor. It's really sweet to get something like that for something that I love to do, and that when your work doesn't feel like work, it's very special. So thank you.
Of course. And that's just a testament to the quality of executive leadership that is on your team, so that they can help kind of pave the way for the youth.
Absolutely. We're so blessed to have, amazing educational partners, like Heather. I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about some of the other amazing administrators and teachers that are on our team, not just from here in Georgia, but across the country. We've got over 85 years of educational experience across all levels, high school, elementary school, middle school, on administration in the classroom. And so it's really helped us create this holistic program that I think is innovative. It's doing some really incredible things at really low cost to our schools. And we're doing it all backed by kind of national best practices and the neurolinguistics of how kids learn to read and what is really most effective in the classroom.
Talk about your experience with it, Heather, from the teacher's perspective, because you get to see both sides of the coin. Yeah. So I'm curious.
Absolutely. So as JT said, it's really sweet for us teachers on our side of things, because with so many kids, you want to be able to meet with each and every one of them in small groups or in one-on-one sessions, but there's just not enough time in the day. There's not enough time in the school day. And so that's truly impossible, especially when you have over 30 kids in your class. So this allows you to have that kind of individualized time with your students, but also to curate the time when they're meeting with their ambassadors, that they're building that relationship, they're getting to read, that they are growing and learning in that time, and you are able to kind of like not put your hands on them as the teacher, but you can trust because of the model that Preface has built and the leadership that is in the ambassadors, and that those mentors kind of have the knowledge that they are bringing to the table. Like, you can just trust that when your students are meeting with their ambassador, they are thriving and they are learning, and that just is such a wonderful feeling. Even if they don't get to a book that day, or they just end up talking about something that is like on the student's heart. Like, me as a teacher, I am so happy that occurred. And that could not happen without Preface.
I love, and our listeners can't see the joy on your face, but I know that you can hear a smile. So I know you heard that great big smile on Heather's face. The curriculum that you talked about and the learning models, that takes some intention to build and then put them into place and see them, create success. I would love to learn more about those models that you create. Absolutely. So just to break it down to the basics, when we were kind of building this model and thinking about, okay, what do we want it to look like? What do we want the ambassadors to understand? And what do we want this time? Because like we said, time is so sacred. What do we want this time with the students to be? And I guess selfishly kind of thought, okay, if I could clone myself to meet one-on-one with each and every kid, knowing what I have learned from both my education background in school and just my time in the classroom with students, what would I want them to be able to bring to the table? And so we kind of planned a small group session. It's basically what teachers do in our reading groups, is allowing students to have their voice heard, and then to be able to read and to be able to learn their sight words and learn their phonics and kind of have their individualized needs met. So the model's pretty much just like building a baseline of having a goal for that reading session, picking a book. Usually it's one based on the student's interests, and then a phonics goal it could be, or sight words, which is those words that you can just name right off the bat, but you can't necessarily sound out. Yeah.
I know I like sometimes talk teacher talk, so I have to kind of break it down and be like, no, okay, this is what a sight word is.
Sound it out.
Yes.
Give me an example of the phonics.
So, for example, if the student is in kindergarten and they are learning about that letter A sound, that of short A, and they're reading a book, they might, go through the book and point out the pictures that have like cat or apple or things like that with their ambassador, and then they'll read the book together, and then afterwards the student would go through and be asked to, okay, go point to one of those A words, or what can we build that with, like, let's do it with our hands, let's write it down, let's build it with magnet letters or whatever they have, or like type it on the keyboard, whatever, just to kind of apply their knowledge.
I love that.
And I think one of the things that we're super excited about building on that is that one of our core philosophies was empowering this next generation of student leaders to be able to serve and to give back, without having to wait 40 years and making $1 million to do something philanthropic. They can do this in their own backyards. They can do this during the school day, during free periods that they might have. I think COVID was a very interesting time for a lot of us, but one of the things that it did develop was it caused a lot more technology adoption, I think, across the board in our schools, but with our students as well. So now, you've got most elementary school students with Chromebooks, and that's become a part of life in the classroom. Absolutely. And so, we didn't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater when it came to, saying, okay, well, we love in-person learning, but that doesn't mean we can't do digital tools and tactics as well. And so one of the, I think, real cool innovations that we've done together as a Preface team is built out this virtual portal. So all of the trainings and all of the modules that Heather just described are available online for any high school student to register, to go through, to train themselves on. And you can do it, you can do it in an hour, you can do it in 2 weeks. It's self-directed. But at the end of that process, they meet with our team. We have a one-on-one, what we call credentialing session with them, where we make sure that, you actually did listen to and absorbed the things that we were talking about before we even send you out to be paired and into a classroom with an actual student and with a teacher. And so there's a lot of different pieces behind the scenes where we're matching schedule availability, we're matching demographic characteristics to try to make sure that the little kiddos that are getting paired with their ambassadors have as much in common as possible, so that not only are they getting the educational benefit, but they're getting that relationship benefit as well. Yeah. And then that's something that's really been important, because now you see these kids going from being shy in the classroom to having just a boundless confidence and being excited to looking forward to their reading sessions and thinking that their high school ambassadors are superheroes. And that supercharges a love of learning in a way that is pretty indescribable.
Speaking of babies in bathwater, shout out to Earth Baby, who year over year
That's right. Absolutely.
is one of your largest contributors and supporters.
Yes, they're a fantastic company. They're based out of California, but they create and manufacture organic and child-friendly baby products. So from hand sanitizers to shampoos to bath, soap and things like that. And it's been incredible. Their founder was an orphan, and so her kind of path to where she is today really started in books, and it was all kind of grounded in that fundamental concept of literacy and being able to take in and understand and engage with the world around her. And so this was a mission that was really close to her heart, and we're super blessed and super grateful to continue to have their support year after year.
It really does open up a whole new world for children. I remember as a youngster, and even today, when you just read a book, especially fiction, and you allow your mind to kind of manufacture the characters and the storyline. It's really just an exciting world once you're able to kind of crack open a book. I think I just really kind of jumped into things, and I want to rewind here for a second. For those of you listening, we're in studio today with a special episode of Forsyth Business Radio highlighting the Preface Project. They're celebrating their 4th year with their annual benefit gala. And for those of you who don't know what the Preface Project is, you can visit them online at www.prefaceproject.org. And they are a 501c3 that empowers communities to combat early childhood literacy and secure foundational educational opportunities for the next generation. We are seeing it here firsthand as they are on the ground, and they're doing great work, not only in our local community, but worldwide.
Absolutely. Thank you. And it's absolutely a team effort, and we couldn't do it without our educational partners on the ground. When we put the Preface model together, we talked to teachers and said, look, we don't want to be prescriptive. We don't want to tell you how to do your jobs. I'm certainly not qualified for that. Heather probably has more qualifications on that than I do.
I'm still not.
I definitely do not. But what we said was, how can we help? Tell us what you need. Tell us what you want. We're all, at the time, probably naive, but ambitious as well. And we wanted to build something that could be a great, very easy to use tool for teachers all across the country, and to your point, the world, to be able to take, localize, customize, to meet the needs of their own individual communities and then deploy. And so we recognize that, the language and literacy needs in a place like Dothan, Alabama are going to be a lot different from Brooklyn, New York, right? But Absolutely. We've seen success across those kinds of demographic and state lines because the way that we design the model is so foundationally relevant to, hey, these are sight words, these are comprehension questions, this is how, you should read to a kid. But the curriculum aspect of it, the actual books that are being read, the topics that are being discussed are driven very much by the elementary school on the ground and by the teachers and who are, overseeing their own classrooms. And so we've partnered with folks like the good people at Google and at Zoom and at Epic, which is a platform that houses over 10,000 books across a variety of grade levels and reading levels and topics and languages to make sure that our ambassadors are equipped with everything that they could possibly need to succeed, and that all of those things are complementary to what all of our teachers, are already doing on the ground. Right. And so to your point about global impact, we're in conversations now because, in America, English is kind of the main language and the main currency of a lot of education. But if you take that across the pond, we've got a lot of globalization and a lot of cross-cultural immigration that is happening particularly, for our friends in the European Union. And you talk about Italy, for example. They've got certainly folks that they would like to learn Italian and kind of get familiar with that language and culture in the schools, very much in the same way that we're, talking about English in our classrooms. And so linguistically and from a neurological perspective, a lot of those language acquisition models are quite similar. And so we've been in conversation with them on how can we tweak and deploy the tactics and the research-driven best practices that we've seen work here at Preface that are bringing kids from functionally illiterate to reading at or above grade level in as little as 10 weeks, and taking that, across the pond and into other places where some of those needs might be, sure, different from a language perspective, but functionally and fundamentally very similar to what we're doing here in the States.
Out of my own personal curiosity, how would you even begin to do that? Let's say, because you keep saying across the pond, let's just say England.
Sure.
You wanted to implement this in England. You keep talking about the importance of your educational partners. Do you currently have educational partners in England, or how would you find them in order to partner with them and launch the program?
It's a great question. I personally am so grateful for service organizations. I'm a member of the Rotary Club of Duluth. I know certainly a lot of our greatest connections and our greatest kind of networking opportunities when it comes to brainstorming innovative things like this come very much from those kinds of organizations where you've got like-minded folks thinking about ways that they can introduce innovations and things that work into their own community. And so, just the other week, we were talking to an international Rotary Club, the Rotary Club of Worldwide Impact, that had members from, over a dozen countries represented on that call. And so some of them were saying, hey, this would actually be something that, we would love to explore in the Netherlands or in Dubai or other places. And so just being able to open those lines of communication, our biggest advocates, I can sit here and talk as a dumb business guy or dumb, executive guy all day. The best folks are the teachers on the ground and the parents who see the impact that this is having in the lives of kids. And so when we're able to kind of foster those connections and meet up with like-minded educators from wherever they might be, we can usually find a way to make something work because our model is inherently so customizable and so driven and so tailored to local needs.
Heather, do you have anything to add?
No, I was just going to agree completely. I think that because we're kind of trailblazers in the way that we connect these high school ambassadors with the elementary school students, it doesn't necessarily have to stop at English in local elementary schools in America. It can be for any language. It can be technically for any subject. If that were to fit someone else's needs, like if you have an expert that is a little bit older to be a mentor to someone younger and be able to teach them about whether it's science or whether it's math, like it could also work. There's still gaps in that knowledge. So I think that that's something really sweet about this model is that it's not, like JT said, it's very customizable. It's not just in a box. And so I think that's like something really cool and allows us to be worldwide.
Is it too late for someone to become a sponsor or to contribute?
We're always looking for donation partners and sponsors and corporate supporters. One of the very exciting things that we love to do is a thing we've established called the Legacy Gift Program, which is where for every single elementary school that we partner with, doesn't matter where they are, we will work with the educators on the ground to create, curate, and then donate a gift of brand new children's books from an amazing source. We work with a vendor called First Book, and they're brand new, representative, and often multilingual books. So we're able to give a library of 150 to 200 brand new books, so that it's not just the literacy sessions that are kind of the gift with Preface. You've got this legacy of learning that is physical and tangible for these school libraries for generations to come. And so certainly if there are any parents or teachers or even interested high school students who are listening on this radio broadcast, we would love to get in touch with all. Y'all can go to our website, prefaceproject.org, and there's an information page. You can fill it out. We would love to get in touch with you. If for no other reason, then we love giving books away to kids across the country and across the world. But to your point, there are also a lot of different ways to get involved. From a corporate perspective, we love having corporate volunteers. We partner with sororities, fraternities, large corporations, small corporations, you name it, to host kind of community champion, is what we call them, community champion reading sessions, where the kind of core Preface model is in that small group kind of one-to-one peer-to-peer setting. But for older volunteers, they're able to kind of zoom in to elementary school classrooms across the country at a time that works for them, give a reading session, be a guest reader, and kind of keep that, it's very read across America, kind of feel going, but to do that, across the school year. And so that's been a really fun thing to offer our partners as well.
Your enthusiasm is admirable. Where was it born?
I think it was just born from the students in my classroom. I really, truly do love what I do, and I enjoy, and I think that is like something it's a gift and a blessing to be able to go into work and enjoy what I do and see the light bulbs flash in my students' eyes and see them just like get something that they haven't been able to get or keep working on, a certain word or sentence and being able to get it. I think that is like something that you just don't forget very easily. And to be able to train or just show other students, like other high schoolers, that experience with another child, that's where my love for it comes, because I just know that feeling personally, and I want everyone to feel that way and see what it's like to like watch the light bulb turn on and this student just like go from having such low self-confidence to completely believing in themselves and having that feeling of like they can do anything. They can do that. They can read cat. They can do it all.
Talk about a success story, JT.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more with Heather, and I think it's amazing watching little kiddos go and start to embrace that love of learning, on their own. And I think that's kind of what drove me to begin with to kind of found and continue to lead Preface alongside the amazing team that I have the pleasure of working with every single day. Is, my parents came to this country for an education, and they instilled in me the value of an education at a young age. And I think that is so foundational to what the American dream is, right? And if we can give our next generation that educational opportunity to be able to read, to be able to understand what's going on, and then to be able to grow into themselves in that way and to be seen and validated and heard for who they are. Not only is that going to be great for them, but for us as a country, right? I mean, globalization, multiculturalism, that, the interconnectivity of the world, that's not going away. And so what an amazing advantage that can be for our communities, right? To have kiddos who can speak English and Spanish and Chinese and Vietnamese and Korean, and to be able to capture that and harness that, in pursuit of a better world, that's a really exciting thing for us. And so when you talk about success stories, I mean, gosh, I think they're endless, right? I mean, we go into classrooms, and on the first day, kids are shy. They don't want to engage. They're scared of reading. And I think one that I have in mind is there was a little girl who, didn't even want to admit that she knew Spanish. When you're a young child in a different environment, the last thing you want to do is to stick out, right? And the last thing you want to do is call attention to yourself and be different. And so over the course of working with her ambassador, who did speak Spanish, she was from a Spanish-speaking home, 10 weeks later, they were conversing just as fluently and just as easily in English and Spanish, and you kind of saw that light in her eyes. And her teacher came up and told us afterwards, hey, she has grown by leaps and bounds. Now she's, really participating in class, and she's contributing. And I think, again, we can't claim all the credit, but I do think a large portion of that is the relationships that these students have been able to build with our ambassadors, who are meeting them where they are, whether that's in English, whether that's in Spanish or otherwise, and they're reading things that they want to read about. They're talking to them about things that they want to talk about, and all throughout that, they're learning.
How many languages are you able to accommodate students in?
I mean, the list is endless, right?
Endless?
I mean,
Good.
So it's funny because I feel like every time we go through recruitment, there are languages there that I hadn't even realized that were being spoken. One of our first partner schools, Berkmar High School over in Gwinnett County, actually had 80 countries represented in that student body alone. And so, we worked with them, with Lilburn Elementary, who was one of the other schools in that area. And between those two schools, I mean, it's a veritable United Nations over there of countries and languages and flags. And so, just the other day we were having students apply, and they were, in Korean, French, and German. Somebody spoke West African Pidgin English, which was very interesting. Wow. So, I think there's just all sorts of different languages and exciting things. But the Preface model isn't only for multilingualism, right? It works certainly across languages, but it works English to English as well. And I think that's because we're pairing kids up, with similar demographic profiles who can relate to each other's life experiences, where the ambassador could be like a big brother or a big sister to this child. And the results have been evident across not just English to other language, but English to English too.
I like that. You keep using the word ambassador, but it sounds to me like a mentor, and I'm
Absolutely.
sure they form a relationship that lasts for many years.
Certainly. I mean, we just this past year had one of our former ambassadors, one of our first ambassadors, come back and intern with us. And so she's been producing, things about, hey, these are things that I, learned during my time as an ambassador that might be helpful for all of y'all in the next generation of ambassadors.
Great.
And so being able to give back, she's actually now studying child development and psychology at a fantastic institution here in the South. And, she's told us, it's the experience with Preface and working hands-on and getting to spend time with a kiddo and being a part of their learning journey, that really drove that for me. And I think for us, we have a scholarship program that we have for kids in all of our operational states that we execute at the end of every single year. And we want to encourage a spirit of service, whether or not you're serving with us, that's really important. But, I think that's one of the things that makes a lot of this worthwhile too, is being able to pour back into the high school students, while they're serving with us and even afterwards as well.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to speak on that a little bit as well, because I think a lot of times we do, and it is a lot for the younger elementary students and teaching them that baseline literacy, but we have such a huge impact with the high school students as well. And I think that's like such a wonderful, wonderful element of Preface, is that these ambassadors are able to, it's so customizable for them to be able to get involved. They can, like JT said, I think at the beginning, it can be a free period in class. It can be after school. It can be before school, even because of how different times elementary school starts and high school start. And it is there. A lot of them are able to get involved with Preface when they can't get involved in a lot of other organizations due to sports or due to jobs or due to just lack of access as far as like resources getting to and from place. So I think that is something really, really sweet, is that the high school students are able to kind of, step away from themselves and get involved in something bigger than them, and really get these, get on the ground with these kids and make relationships. And I know that the relationships are such a huge, they make a huge impact on these elementary school students, but I think they're also really, really, really important for the high school students as well.
I would agree. And it's giving them something constructive to participate in. It's giving them the opportunity to share their talents with someone else.
Absolutely. And building off that, we're a presidential volunteer service organization as well. And so to be able to offer those kinds of awards and recognition for high school kids, and again, to say leadership in your service journey can start now. You don't have to wait for 3, 4, 10, 15 years to get involved. You can start giving back. And especially during COVID, when there were very limited options, I think, for service and engagement, this has been a great way to kind of pour into the next generation of student leaders.
You said something about learning journey, and that is so true. Learning is a continual journey. We learn every single day, no matter what age. I think when we stop learning, then that's when we die.
Absolutely.
So what has been something exciting about your journey? What have you learned over these past 4 years in creating this wonderful program that has helped so many succeed? Either one of you. Something that you have learned over these
Let me talk slowly, and then I'll kick it over to Heather.
That's a great question also, because that is like something I think so important, is that we are lifelong learners, and learning doesn't always happen in a straight line as much as we want. And I wish we could say that, and I'm not trying to speak for you, JT, but that the learning as far as Preface has been like just in a straight uphill climb, because that would be a lie, honestly.
Absolutely.
It is
Absolutely.
a journey that's with its ups and its downs, and sometimes you learn from your mistakes.
Yes, of course.
No, yeah, I completely agree with that. I mean, I think one of the most exciting things for us was just seeing how willing folks were to dive in and support, learning innovations and educational innovations for our next generation. I think a lot of times, sometimes there's this perception of like, oh, well, it's the work you're doing might be a drop in the bucket. Like, why do it at all, right? And, we would love to solve childhood illiteracy, obviously. I don't think any of us are going to be able to do that alone. But with the Preface model, what we wanted to do, we work for the organization pro bono. So none of my leadership team or I take a salary. We do this completely because we believe in the mission, and we designed it so that it could run in perpetuity on really, really low cost basis. We have very little overhead. The donations that we get go directly to helping students and to furthering the growth of the program. And so I think, as we're putting all that together, we just very, very deliberately decided that was the way that we wanted to structure this model, so that we could give those opportunities to the next generation kind of, in perpetuity almost. And so that's why we're really excited about our annual gala every single year, where we're able to bring our friends, our supporters, our policymaker allies. Literacy is not a partisan thing, right? I think everybody wants a next generation that is equipped to succeed, and that can be really great members of our country and our society. And so, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or independent, we've been really blessed to have allies from across the political spectrum. And so every year at our gala, we're proud to host representatives and even the officials themselves, from the governor's office to the senators, all down, who have just been incredibly great supporters of our mission, and who see the value in investing early in the next generation and making sure that they can succeed. And so that's one of the things I think that we particularly love getting up and being able to do every single day, is just finding new ways to bring even more allies on board. Because, again, it's the perception that people are okay with the status quo, I think, is an incorrect one, and particularly when it comes to education and with the learning loss that we had during COVID. I think it's never been more important to kind of invest in literacy in the next generation in these kinds of ways.
Well, we rise by lifting others, and that's certainly what you guys do. Heather.
We do our best.
No, I would completely agree with that. I think that something that we learned for sure is that it is not like maybe at first we were trying to target like, okay, well, if we say it this way, maybe we can get these people on board, or like maybe like it'll seem like for the teachers it's easier for them, which it is. But at the end of the day, we're all on the same team.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I think once we kind of like, we're like, wait, we need to get out of our own way and just realize how much this is just all of us in together, it becomes so much easier.
I've never asked you guys this, and you think I'd know because I've known you for a while now. But I would love for you to share the story about how you two became partners in Preface and how you decided to team up to take the world by storm.
Oh
Yeah.
wow, that is quite the intro. I love it.
That's a throwback. I love it. I know you should chime in here, Heather, too. I have no qualms in saying that I asked Heather for her advice because she was way smarter than me, and I was like, hey, I need an educator who knows what is going on in the classroom every single day. Like, I have this idea. I feel like there's an issue. We'd heard about the literacy crisis and things, and I was like, I would love to know how to help, but I also am more than aware of my own limitations and that I don't know how to help. So I was like, hey, Heather, we went to church together, and we started talking. And, as you can tell, she's incredibly smart and incredibly driven. And I think we just kind of hit it off.
So it started just with a conversation about a need that you wanted to.
Yeah. So basically, JT was talking about Preface, and he had,
Wait, you already had the name picked out?
I think we were been circling it.
Yeah. Either way, as you can tell, JT speaks with such confidence, and like I was believing every word. I was like, yes, what he's selling, I'm buying. And it was like it was just this idea and this like desire to love on kids in this way, and just kind of like was really just this up in the air. I feel like
it was a white paper basically. Mm-hmm. We had done a policy review. We had gone through. We had checked the boxes from like an academic perspective. But as any teacher will tell you, academics and execution are completely different things when it comes to teaching. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'm grateful for Heather.
Yeah. So he was just talking, and I was like, hey, that sounds like it's up my alley. I love that, and here we are.
Wow.
I tricked her, and now
so
she's
that
here.
was okay. We're celebrating year 4, so one would say that the concept maybe originated a year prior to that, and then implementation. So really, you guys, this was bred about 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's right.
You guys have had some measurable success. Mm-hmm. Now, I asked you last year, I'm going to ask you again, where you see yourself in the next 3, 5, 10 years.
Yeah.
The organization or yourselves, you can chime in with that. And last year, you told me that you hope to be in about 20 to 25 states.
Yeah. No, God willing, I think that's certainly our hope. We want to, again, as we've talked about, continue to grow the model, continue to show the success, and really, if nothing else, just get it into the hands of as many students, teachers, and parents as possible. Again, it's no cost to schools. So from our perspective, we've built out the infrastructure. We have proven that the model works. We've got the research to back it up. We've got the data. We actually just finished, we're pretty excited about this, an investment in a proprietary Preface portal. And so now, instead of having to deal with a lot of scheduling and logistics and things manually on the back end, all of our new ambassadors, all of our teacher and school liaisons are going to have access to this one website, prefaceportal.org. And they're going to be able to go in, they're going to be able to see their matches, log their sessions, choose the books that they want their ambassadors to be reading, register how all those sessions went, click on the links directly within the portal, and it's going to really streamline and simplify the experience for not just our ambassadors, but for our school partners and our school district partners as well. You mentioned the 14 states. We're proud to be a preferred high-impact tutoring partner of Gwinnett County Public Schools. We work with some of the largest school systems across the country and in those 14 states. And so for us, it's just continuing to find partners, continuing to see where we can be good friends and allies and neighbors to these systems, because again, it takes 2 to tango. We recognize that this isn't always going to be the right fit for every single school or every single district, but we want it to be an available option. We want folks to be aware that there is this method that is backed by science, that is peer-to-peer engagement, that is multilingual mentorship, and that is, again, producing results for our next generation.
You said tango. You keep just opening these doors for me, man.
Hey, come on now.
Speaking of tango, one of the things that I enjoy so much about the Gala, and I can speak from experience and attendance, is we boogie.
Oh,
all right.
We do.
Not only is the food fantastic, not only is there a premium bar, but there's also a dance floor, and we like to have fun.
Yes.
So tell me what you foresee for year 4 as we go and we celebrate together at the Capital City Club in Atlanta.
Yeah, Heather, you want to talk about the party? You want me to do it? We can both do it. It's up.
Party.
Let's tag team, because it's always one of the best events of the year in my book.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So I'll kick it off. We're really excited to be partnering with the Capital City Club downtown in Atlanta this year. Obviously, an historic institution and an incredibly beautiful venue, an incredibly beautiful club, and the staff and the team down there has just been so encouraging and welcoming to us. So that'll be happening on September 23rd. By popular demand, we have extended it by 30 minutes this year. So we're actually starting cocktail hour 30 minutes earlier. So it'll be 6:30 start. We'll go until about 11 p.m. We've got a live 5-piece band, music and dancing, of course, seated 3-course meal, premium open bar for the entire evening, and some incredible speakers, guests of honor. We'll be hearing from Gwinnett County Chairwoman Nicole Hendrickson in the past. Congresswoman Carolyn Bordeaux has spoken and supported us. We've of course got congratulatory letters from again senators, Congresswoman Lucy McBath, Governor Kemp, the First Lady, all those folks from here in the state of Georgia. But we also get to honor and highlight amazing educators who are doing incredible work in their classrooms with Preface and in their communities every single year. And so this year it's Alicia Butler. She's a mentoring coordinator at Gwinnett County Public Schools on the elementary school side. She's been an incredible partner for us, and we're really excited to be hosting her. And we'll also have keynote remarks, and we'll be giving an award to someone I think we probably all know in this room, the Community Foundation of Northeast Georgia's CEO, DePriest Waddy. So he's an incredible mentor and friend and has been a great supporter of Preface, and we couldn't be more excited to be having him and hearing his thoughts about the next generation.
People might be familiar with Randy Redner, and he was his successor, correct?
Yes, absolutely. And Randy, great, again, a great friend. I mean, gosh, the
we'll
number of times
there,
that I bothered him about this idea when it was in the earliest stages is probably incalculable.
Hey, Randy's a good friend to have in the nonprofit world. I'll tell you,
he
very
knows his
knowledgeable.
stuff. He's a great guy.
I have to just brag on you guys because I know the amount of work that actually goes into coordinating and planning this wonderful event is outrageous. And I know JT well and have known him for years. And he goes into this like event planning mode. It's like just one target, one mission. And you do a fantastic job year over year.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, no, I mean, obviously we would be lost without the incredible team that we have.
It is.
Here
It's
at
a team. It
Preface.
takes a village.
It does. And I try to, I put them in and try to embarrass them as much as possible as well whenever they'll let me. So you'll be able to see more of that on Saturday.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, you guys, I do just want to give you a moment to thank those who are contributors and who continue to support you year over year through the sponsorships.
Absolutely. Again, I think our corporate and institutional and even individual sponsors have just been so fantastic to us, ever since our inception, even through today. So as you mentioned, Earth Baby is our presenting sponsor this year, as they have been for the last several years, and we're incredibly grateful for their support. We've also got a wide range of mission and media partners as well. Univision, we actually just had one of our Spanish-speaking expert national advisors do an interview on Univision to share about the work that we're doing within the Spanish language speaking community in particular. Fantastic. And so we're grateful to have their support. Certain family foundations, absolutely. Hyatt Hotels has been a great partner of ours this year as well. And, all the way down, Renaissance Bank is an incredible financial sponsor of ours. They have been for a number of years, and really just the list could go on and on. I think, I think from our perspective, it's a cliche, but it does take a village. And so, no matter what size your business is, no matter where you are in the country, there's a really solid chance that you've got young kiddos in your community who could use some additional assistance from a literacy perspective. And for all of us at Preface, we would love to be a part of that in your journey with you.
And again, for those of you listening, visit www.prefaceproject.org to learn how you can contribute. Year over year, you successfully raise 6 figures. That is amazing.
Absolutely.
So would it be appropriate to say that we're shooting for...
From engaging with teachers and students to fostering these relationships wherever we can, both at the individual and corporate levels. We're super grateful for the folks that are going to be coming out to the gala, for the folks that will be sponsoring and supporting us virtually and online as well. We'll have a live stream link on Facebook and all of that. So,
oh yes, be careful if you're just standing at the bar and picking your nose because you might be on the live stream and you don't know it.
That's right. That's exactly. We'll try to edit that one out too. But I think we would love to surpass the financial goals and the projections that we've had for ourselves over the last couple of years, and our donors and our incredible sponsors have always stepped up to the plate and just continued to give and be generous with us out of their hearts. So we're excited about a great event this year. Can't wait to see what the future has in store, and we're really excited to host you as well.
Oh, thank you for inviting me again, and I love partnering with you guys and amplifying the voice of your mission.
Thank you so much for having us. This is just something that's so important to us. Its cause is really, really near and dear to us, and hopefully it's near and dear to some of you listeners out there as well.
Yes, and for those of you listening who would like to enjoy this episode, you can listen anywhere that you enjoy your audio shows, and you can always listen 24/7 at businessradiox.com. and thank you for joining us on this special episode of Forsyth Business Radio. I am your host, Amanda Pierce Marmolejo, and I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn. Amanda, PearchMarmolejo. For our guests today, the Director of Educational Standards, Heather Phillips, and the founder and executive director of Preface Project, Mr. J.T. Wu. This has been Forsyth Business Radio on Business RadioX. Remember, if you'd like to learn more about the Preface Project or you'd like to participate or contribute, please visit www.prefaceproject.org.